Okay, so last night Alec Baldwin got arrested, and not like me, 36 hour on a sleeping on a concrete floor at central booking with no food, no water, no access to toilet, no access to a phone. I was detained at central booking with there was a pay phone, but the phone is not linked with a real company. It's linked with a jail company, and I couldn't reach international phone call, even if I used my credit card. And I tried then to reach my New Yorker friends, just to have them send me a lawyer or tell them where I was, or having them to contact my family, and I couldn't reach them. But all my attempts, which I think I tried like 7 phone call, it ended up charging me $200 on my credit card, which no phone company in the world would ever charge for less than 5-minute phone call, $200. So you see how when you're trapped at central booking, it's just because you're poor, you're under middle class, or you're middle class, you're not rich and famous like Alec Baldwin with political contact. You're most likely to be either black people, African American, or Hispanic, or Chinese, and then you want to get out of there and you don't access lawyer. There's a phone by the law that is available, but it's a trick phone. It's a phone that it's going to charge you $200 that obviously you don't have, just to call a lawyer, and you'll never reach a lawyer. There's no phone book. There's no information for lawyer available. And me, I asked for my embassy. I asked for a translator while I was detained 36 hours, while the law maximum is 24. And so I couldn't access none of that. And they say, oh, there's a water fountain in your jail, in that room, that we're all like perhaps like up to 20 women together in that same jail cell, and there's a water fountain, but it doesn't work. And there's a phone, but it doesn't work. But they say, by the law, there's a phone and water, so that's it. And there's a toilet as well in the middle of the place, and it's supposed to be like, like saloon doors, and there was no doors, and everybody could see the people that were, like, it's so humiliating to go to the toilet with no doors in front of a bunch of strangers. And the toilet was blocked and was overflowing, and everybody was desperate to retain not to go to the toilet. But the toilet, and we're talking about women with periods and women that are pregnant, and I've seen women pregnant in detention, and I'm gonna do like a full video on that, because it's something we wouldn't accept for animals, and it's terrible to do that. Even if the person is truly guilty, the baby, the fetus that lives inside of the woman is an innocent and should be protected. And should be protected with the right food, with the water, with the right condition, with everything that is clean enough for its development, and it's not. So I'm going to do a video on that. You're going to be amazed of what I've witnessed. But where I was detained at central booking, no water, no toilet, no phone. I got $200 phone bill. And yesterday in the news they said, oh, the poor man that was sent at the hospital, as well as Alec Baldwin, they both got one parking ticket each, as the police officer was not aware of what's going on. As I was detained 36 hours, when I came back to my car, I had 4 parking tickets, one on top of the other. My car was almost towed, and it cost me $1,000 to pay those tickets, as I was back in Canada, unable to pay that in United States on site, adding more charge. It was crazy. So for me, it ended up nearly like $1,000 parking ticket for a crime I did not commit, as I was detained in central booking as for 36 hours as Alec Baldwin yesterday for allegedly assaulting physically someone, and got 3 hours at the friendly detention of the precinct next, like in his next to his house. And he got back home, he slept in his bed, he could take a shower, he had toilet, he had water, and the most important part is he had a cell phone and access to a real functional phone, and an access to internet. So right away he tweeted. And he tweeted to counterbalance the wave of vilification that was going on, as he's presumed innocent, and nobody if it's myself, if it's Alec Baldwin, like I'm not defending Alec Baldwin, I'm defending everybody that is not convicted of a crime in front of a judge or in front of a jury, then you're presumed innocent. And the Constitution of United States say presumption of innocence is very important, and it's to the district attorney to have the burden of the proof. In fact, on the field, it's absolutely not respected. Presumption of innocence when all no press should be able to talk about alleged crime, alleged victim, alleged abuser with name, with addresses, with information prior a verdict. And the verdict, it's because the press has the right to print the right for information. But information means based on fact, based on truth, and based on something tangible that you can verify. When somebody is allegedly accused of a crime, no press should be having the right to talk about that, because it's vilification, it's bullying, but it's also killed the presumption of innocence, and it also kills the possibility for that person to get a real defense, to get an equal access for justice, and that is also in the Constitution of the United States. So if you want to know what I've been through and what I have experienced and the knowledge I've acquired through my journey into injustice in New York, everything starts with vilification. This vilification and sensational press and tabloids got nothing to do with information. But when the real station, known as journalist, should not either be able to talk about something that is not confirmed by a verdict after a jury, after a judge. So when somebody is arrested, when somebody is allegedly accused of something, nobody should talk about it. It should be, but it's very sensational. It's the culture of fear. It's the culture of drama. And that is very lucrative in the press. And that is probably the gold mine of every news station. So if they talk only if the person is guilty and respect the presumption of innocence, then that's not as financially interesting for network, for tabloid, for paparazzi, so they don't care. But we need somebody that's going to put the foot on the door and say, here's the Constitution, and there's a presumption of innocence on one hand, and there's the right to information by the press on the other hand, and which one is the most important. And right now, for a very finance-oriented culture in America, the right to print, no matter what, is even if it's unverified fact, it's much more important than the right of preserving the presumption of innocence and allowing equal fare for justice to every citizen and non-citizen. So you see here, there's like two things. There's the presumption of innocence and the right for equal justice. Equal right for justice, and here the right for press to print information. Well, you know what? This is above this, and the press, they're not printing fact. They should be allowed only to print when the person is convicted, when the person's got a verdict. That is real fact. Let's say Geneviève Sabourin got convicted of stalking. That would have never happened because I was a victim of those two constitutional right that was absolutely denied, which is my presumption of innocence and the right for equal right for justice. And because I was vilified and bullied during 2 years prior trial, I asked for a speedy clock, I asked my court file to be sealed, I asked for a change of venue. But Eric Schneiderman, who's a good friend of Alec Baldwin, and he was at that time the Attorney General of New York, which which means it's the accuser of New York. So I had no chance for equal justice, but nobody cared because he's rich and famous. He's a white male, and I was a foreigner. So if you're a foreigner, if you're African American, if you're Hispanic, if you're Chinese, if you're poor, if you're on welfare, if you're middle class, if the majority of the people here, we don't access the same option, the same justice option, then somebody like Alec Baldwin, who's rich and famous, got contact in the press, contact in politics, and could write off his lawyers, you know, from his business expense and his income taxes at the end of the year, as we can't. And so what happened yesterday, Alec Baldwin got out like this after 2-3 hours at the precinct, and he's home and he's got an access to tweet his side of the story. So before the wave that started talking about his arrest become a giant tsunami all around the world, Alec has got the possibility to do a damage control and bring his side of the story, which is the news, and everybody sorry for that, everybody's gonna print that because it's gonna be lucrative for them to talk about that news, no matter what they say about what, even if it's non-verified fact. No, everybody's printing, and that's wrong and needs to be changed right away, because it's damaging innocent, and it's breaking lives, and it's breaking family, and it's wrong. It's against the Constitution, technically, the way it is done right now. And so Alec Baldwin took internet and he tweeted his side of the story. So instead of the fact that he was arrested, his news went like this, and him, like, he tweeted right away after 3 hours of his arrest, and then everything went more like this. And then somebody like that, very full of contact in the press, could just simply ask a friend or hire a journalist or a paparazzi, saying, look, if for that amount of money or for that exchange, I'm going to ask you to counterprint an information, a fake news, saying it wasn't, I was not, let's say, for example, we're going to take an example of Alec Baldwin. I was not physically assaulting this man, but it was a mutual fight. And then if the journalists print this, then everybody else will print it, because everybody think it's a scoop and they want to print faster. It doesn't matter if it's real, if it's verified, if it's true. Everybody wants to. So I could technically say my best friend is Mickey Mouse, and everybody would print it. You know what I mean? And so at that point, the population reads what's in the news, but it's fabricated. And so yesterday, a journalist, so-called journalist, printed that it was a mutual fight, and then everything becomes more like, well, it's not a drama anymore. It's all due to the fact that Alec Baldwin was at home with an access to his phone, with an access with Twitter. He could call his lawyer, he could call his publicist, he could call his agent, and he could send, for example, because when I got out of my 36-hour illegal detention with no water, no food at Central Booking, the judge gave me a protection order. And I could not contact Alec Baldwin to ask him for a out-of-court resolution, to ask him for mediation outside of the court. And then in the United States, in New York, when the charges are applied, it's not that bad, because you have like 90 days. The victim has got 90 days to sign the charge. If it's signed on the first day, then the legal process starts, and everything is taken care of by the Attorney General office, or and then they become the free lawyer team working full time for the alleged victim. So it's that also is something that needs to be changed, because who said that because somebody pressed charge that they're not the abuser by abusing the so-called abuser with the system flaws? And so the entire Justice Department start working full-time with a crew, not towards the case, not towards the truth, but towards the alleged victim. And they become their free lawyer team, which me, on my side, even if I was not guilty, if I was innocent, I've never done anything wrong or illegal, I had to use my house, my entire house, my retirement plan, all my saving, and sell. Like, I'm at the point that I'm at the result of this. In order to survive, I'm gonna have to sell my jewelry this week just to have food, because the consequences are so huge. And the other person that could, like in my case, it was Hilaria Baldwin.